We gaan de bus, moeten uren in de bus zitten. Zo stom. En mijn telefoon doet weer raar. Nee. Engeland nu, in Gibraltar. Maar, wat? Nee, we zijn in Gibraltar. Maar kijk hier. Hey, we moeten zo meteen nog weer de bus in. Is dat onze bus? Wie?
So later on, and it's crazy. Where are we now? Here was before the beach. Water, it was the sea before. All what we see on the right side, built on the top of the sea. That is the old wall, it was the beach. On the right side, the building on the top of the sea. And so now, about 500 meters, I show them where we have the coach park. And just in case, if someone get lost, I hope no, ask for City Hall. Our parking situated nearby City Hall. Just now, in a couple of minutes, I show you where we have City Hall. From Coach Park to City Hall, 2 minutes walk. Yeah, it's really easy. But just in case someone happen, ask for City Hall. Backside of City Hall, we have our Coach Park. And I explain the most easy way to the center.
We moeten dadelijk sowieso alle drie even onze locatie aanzetten.
Arabic, Romanized, Jabal Rik, Mount of Tariq, named after the 8th century Moorish military leader Tariq ibn Ziyad. The landscape is dominated by the Rock of Gibraltar, at the foot of which is a densely populated town area, home to some 32,688 people, 2022 estimate, primarily Gibraltarians.
Next, King's Bastion.
So we're going to go into Queensway now. That road we're going to join now used to be called Reclamation Road. We came to the sea. As every sea you see outside these walls used to be sea before. The sea used to brush against these walls. So we've been reclaiming land for the past 150 years. Much of the housing projects have been built in the last 50 years. We're starting now to reclaim land on the eastern side, making Gibraltar bigger. So this road was called Queensway after the visit of the Queen, her only visit in 1954. The wall we're actually connected to will be running from north to south, always looking down the western side. That will be the limit of the city, 2 entrances into the city. The northern entrance left behind, and we're going to cross now into the southern entrance being Dagestan gates. The wall took 250 years to build. The wall consists of embrasures, small guns, and bastions, big canyons, and it's called a curtain wall for most of its pattern. It's a zigzag pattern. It was one of the best fortifications in the world in its day.
Kun je gewoon harder praten?
Dat is voor je gezicht.
Coming up now to my left, the first and biggest bastion on the wall, being King's Bastion.
Deze? Duur.
On the left you can see a fortification named King's Bastion which was built in 1773. At the time it was built, the King's Bastion was the most important of defences on Gibraltar's western coastline. It is the largest fortification of the city walls.
Bastion.
Now it serves the community as a leisure centre. Facilities include ice skating, cinemas, bowling, fitness gym, youth lounge and a nightclub.
Next, Wellington Front.
As you will see as we go along, not only did we build the wall out of rock, we built the towers, 3 docks, the airport strip, all the holes. That will be mostly for the second phase of this fortification. The inside of that block, for the first and second World War, they made 53 kilometers of tunnels. So all that rubble had to be thrown into the sea. Land was created, and instead of using bricks, we use rocks. We got to be very good at this stone work. You will see as we go along. While you confront the second bastion,
To the left you can see a part of the city wall named Wellington Front. Wellington Front was one of the last of Gibraltar's fortifications to be built by convict labour. 900 convicts were involved in its construction while they were housed in a prison ship, HMS Owen Glendower, which was docked at Gibraltar Harbour. It was later estimated that local labour was cheaper, more productive, and they could legally work for longer hours than the British convicts.
Next, Ragged Staff Gate.
You can see a wall connection here with the British wall and an older Moorish and extended Spanish bastion, and it's made out of sand and stone. This will be mostly at least 400 years earlier. This wall had to be constantly repaired, that's why the British made it out of solid rock. And we're coming to the entrance of the city. The width of the wall will be the length of the hill we're going to climb now. We're going to the city. A very wide wall, a lot of work in Gibraltar. So Ragged Staff Gates. Got the Farmer Cemetery coming up now. There's only 2 bodies. Well, that's a buried cemetery. All the rest are buried at sea.
You said there's only 2 bodies?
Only 2 bodies. Because all the rest were buried at sea. And Admiral Nelson was taken back to England. And it is full honours in Port Cathedral and Trafalgar Square erected in the memory. We don't have Trafalgar Square, we have Trafalgar Sports Bar. Just in front of us.
Behind the roundabout, in front of the city wall is a cemetery, named Trafalgar Cemetery. The Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 took place only 60 kilometres from here, between Tarifa and Cadiz. Most of the soldiers that died in this battle against the Napoleonic fleet were buried at sea. Only 2 officers who died on the way to Gibraltar after the battle were buried in this cemetery. Admiral Lord Nelson, who died during the battle on board HMS Victory, was supposed to have been buried in Gibraltar, but the Crown wanted him back in England. Imagine, in 1805 there were no fridges, so how would the body be conserved? The body of Lord Nelson was placed in a barrel of brandy, which was then lashed to the Victory's mainmast and placed under guard. This enabled the body to be preserved for the duration of its long journey to the British capital, London. Lord Horatio Nelson was buried in St. Paul's Cathedral. It is also claimed that some of the crew sucked out much of the brandy and Nelson's body arrived in London a bit deteriorated. Which is how tapping the Admiral for illicit drinking got into the English language.
Next, Jumpers Bastion.
Here to your right.
On the right, we will be able to see Jumpers Bastions, north and south. They take their name from a Captain Jumper, one of the first officers to land ashore and capture the bastion in 1704. North Jumpers Bastion, originally known as Santa Cruz Bastion, was designed in 1575. After being captured by the British in 1704, it was renamed 8-gun battery and rebuilt in 1785. Musketry embrasures were provided along the face and north flank. South Jumpers Bastion was also rebuilt in 1785. It is more akin to a platform than a bastion, as it was designed to be defended through musket fire only. South Jumpers Bastion now forms the basis of a new studio complex for the Gibraltar Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, which broadcasts local television and radio.
Next, Clock Tower.
We're going to come up now to what we call Small Belly, being a resemblance of Big Ben in England, the British, on top of the 3 biggest docks in the Mediterranean.
On the right, you will be able to see a clock tower, known locally as Little Ben, after London's famous Big Ben. The original dockyard clock tower was known as La Torre del Tuoto. During the Anglo-Dutch assault on the Rock in 1704, the tower was completely destroyed. The British subsequently built a triangular-shaped redoubt and built a tower at its eastern apex. This heavily fortified tower probably served as a staircase controlling the access to the naval yard directly below.
Next, approaching 100-ton gun.
Ahead on the right is the impressive 100-ton gun, installed in the early 19th century but never fired in anger. There are only two in the world, the other one is in Malta. Named after Baron Napier of Magdala, this battery was built between 1878 and 1884. In 1883 it mounted one of the two guns, the other being at Victoria Battery. It took 21 days to be transported by special sleigh the mere 400 yards to its battery position. In 1898, during practice firing, the gun split and was replaced by the one from Victoria Battery nearby. The gun was obsolete by 1906.
Next, Rocha Bay.
Around this area will be where we actually terminate the man-made wall connected to a natural cliff wall. Around this area we can actually pay up to £500,000 for the one-bedroom flat. And your home will always give you an interest from 3 to 5%. Never been a devaluation of home prices, it's a very good investment. The demand at the moment will be around 200%.
Met één
Everybody wants
slaapkamer.
a piece of this cake.
Wat?
Dat zei hij toch, Emiel?
The old port will be broken down to my right.
On the right, behind the wall is Rosia Bay, the former naval port of Gibraltar. This is the port where in 1805, HMS Victory, the flagship of Lord Nelson, was towed in after the Battle of Trafalgar. HMS Victory was badly damaged, and was towed into Rosia Bay for necessary repairs.
Next, entering Rocha Tunnel.
So, end of the wall will be just that corner to my right. Now cliff wall surrounding the rest of the rock connected back to the wall, completing the fortification.
Oh god.
Hey, Distrins only.
Please mind your heads. Low tunnel ceiling. As we exit the tunnel, to the right, you can see the entrance to the Bay of Gibraltar. Straight ahead, and weather permitting, you will see the coast of Africa and Morocco. The mountain that can be seen straight ahead is Monte Musa, in North Africa, with a height of 851 m above sea level. On the right, across the sea, is the port of Algeciras, in Spain, one of the most important container ports in Europe. It has a large ferry terminal which provides connections to Tangiers and Ceuta.
Zwembad, I know.
Next, waterfall.
You can see we don't need a wall here anymore. These will be one of our 6 beautiful beaches. These will be public beaches, 3 in the western side being rocky shores, singles, and 3 in the eastern side being sandy shores. Quite nice beaches. One side of the rock will have shade by 5:30 in the afternoon, and this side here will be the Sunbashers Beach, really, because the sun will go down those hills around 10:15, 10:30 at night. So it's quite a hot beach because it's mostly made out of concrete as well. So all the Sunbashers will come here, to this side here. If not, you just pop over to the eastern side. We are not seeing a little bit too clear Africa on the other side of the straits, but as the day comes along, this will all dissipate and you'll get nice clear skies a little bit later. Up the rock, we're going to see at least the peak of the big mountain being one of the pillars of Hercules, Gibraltar being the other. So here's the 2 pillars of Hercules, the end of the world for a long, long time. We produce nothing at all apart from money and potable water. Everything's imported. We sell a lot of water to ships. You can see the bunkering going on. That blue small ship beside the tanker is passing water. This one here that's black is oil. The red one will be fuel and the green one will be food. 24-hour service. That will be mostly left by the Navy for the Navy, and now we stopped being a naval base in 2007. All those businesses have been tried now to private businesses. Run mostly by the government with private contractors. Artificial waterfall, that will be a salt being pushed back to the sea.
On the left we can see an artificial waterfall. This waterfall is part of the desalination plant inside the Rock of Gibraltar. Saltwater residue, left over after the desalination process, comes out of the rock and goes back into the sea. Reverse osmosis is an expensive process, so we try not to waste fresh water. As a consequence, all toilets in Gibraltar are flushed with salt water.
Next, entering tunnel to Europa Point.
Small.
It's gonna be quite a hot day today. When the sun comes to this side of the rock, all this moisture that's being sucked in on the rock is coming out. Yesterday we had 33, sensation quite around 37. Today mostly the same. And when you see water all around you, you even get more. Oh,
The tunnel we are now going through is the last tunnel built in Gibraltar in 1963. Gibraltar has a huge tunnel system within the rock itself of over 50 kilometers. The majority of the tunnels were built between 1936 and 1945. As we leave the tunnel, we will be arriving at Europa Point, the second most southern point in Europe with a distance of 22 kilometers to Morocco. Located on the left is a mosque built in the year 1996 and donated by the former Saudi Arabian king, Fahd bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Here, you will also be able to see the Trinity Lighthouse erected in 1841. At Europa Point you will also find Sikorski's memorial. General Władysław Sikorski was
Heet die keizer nou
Commander-in-Chief of
Said
the
ibn
Polish
Abdul
Army
Aziz?
and Prime Minister
Want
of
daar
the
kennen we
Polish
de meme van,
government
hè?
in
Dat is een
exile.
meme, jongens.
On the 4th of July,
Said ibn Abdul Aziz.
1943, while returning from the Middle East, Sikorski perished, together with his daughter Zofia,
Oh,
his
Abdul
chief of
Aziz,
staff,
dat is
Tadeusz
gewoon een
Pilecki,
meme, jongen.
and
Dat is
7
gewoon een meme.
others, when his aircraft, a consolidated Liberator 2, crashed into the sea 16 seconds after takeoff at Gibraltar Airport, with the plane's pilot being the only survivor. The catastrophe, officially classified as an accident, has led to several conspiracy theories that exist to this day, often proposed that the crash was an assassination, blamed on the Soviets, British, and even Nazis. The memorial displays one of the original propellers of the crashed Liberator aircraft, salvaged from the sea. When we come to a stop, we will have a 10-minute break, when you can disembark to enjoy the view.
Next, leaving Europa Point.
so I'm going to drop you off. I'll collect you. I'm going to drop you off. That will be just there. So anybody wanting more specific information, just let me know. I was willing to help you out. You'll see other buses stopping. Maybe the other bus that came with me is going to stop back there. Remember, it should be your bus. Stay good here. 10 minutes, 2 viewpoints, one where the gun is and one where the lighthouse is. Africa in front of us. Europe behind us. Back to my left, Costa del Sol. To my right, Costa de la Luz. Going out to the Atlantic to my right, into the Mediterranean to my left. Careful with your heads and leave the bus, please.
Iedereen is bij het kanon. Zie je wat we daar hebben? Ik kan het niet goed zien. Marokko. Ik kan het heel slecht zien. Maar dat land daarachter is Marokko.
Daar.
Huh?
Daar bij die berg.
Dat is Afrika.
Ja, dat is Marokko.
Nee, daar is Marokko. Dit is de straat van Gibraltar. Jawel, pap. Papa. Jawel.
Dat is La Linea. Daar.
Wat vertelt hij net? Onze bus staat zo. Onze bus staat zo. Hij zei, Afrika of Australië, weet een van de twee, is recht vooruit. Daar is de straat van Gibraltar. En daarachter is Marokko. Wat zegt hij nou, pap? Luister, hè?
Kijk. Het is een kolom. Zie je dat?
Tuurlijk moet hij weer even zijn ding moet hij het weer even bewijzen.
Daar is Marokko.
Waar is de straat van Gibraltar dan?
Wat is dit?
Is niet zo'n klein straatje dan eigenlijk.
Nee, het is geen...
Dan legt die man het verkeerd uit.
geen maatregel.
Nee, maar dan legt die man het verkeerd uit. Want hij zegt hier. Laat maar. Want jij moet allemaal je punt weer bewijzen.
Nee, daar zie
Dat je meneer weet
daar
alles
zie je een
bent.
klein beetje glooiing, zie je dat?
Nee, dat is mist.
Ja, daarachter zie je wat.
Nee.
Oké.
Die dingen die er zitten gaan gewoon wolken. Het stinkt hier enorm.
Daarachter zie je Marokko.
Kom pap, we moeten snel terug.
Built in 1997, it's a granite mosque. There's only 5 like these in the world. Full moon, top of the dome in the tower, you won't see much lead around. There'll be one every point of the Muslim star. It can be in the one in the middle. Very important mosque.
Sir, can I sit down here because I'm deaf? I have to see your mouth.
You want to come here?
Can I sit down here?
No, you have to be sitting down.
Oh yeah, please.
All right.
Want to come here?
So we're going to go on to the nature itself now. 426 meters
Ik
high.
wilde eigenlijk daar kon zitten.
And we're going to climb to 323, the exit of the cave.
Located near the southern end of the Upper Rock Nature Reserve of Gibraltar, at the highest point, 426 meters above sea level, is an artillery battery, named Ahara's Battery. In 1901, a 9.2-inch Mark XBL gun was mounted on the battery, with a range of 24 kilometers, replacing the original 6-inch breech loading gun. This range meant that, in theory, it was capable of reaching the African shore. The battery was constructed at the former site of a watchtower and were named after the governor of Gibraltar, General Charles O'Hara, who was the governor of Gibraltar between 1795 until his death in February 1802. During his time as governor, O'Hara believed that if he was successful in constructing a watchtower on the highest point of the rock, the garrison would be able to observe the enemy at the Spanish port of Cadiz. While O'Hara's tower was eventually built, it was not successful in its intended purpose. It was nicknamed O'Hara's Folly due to the occasional banner cloud formation, commonly known as Levante, which would engulf the top of the rock and hinder its visibility. The watchtower was eventually demolished and the existing battery was completed in 1890. The battery was in use during World War II and was last fired during training exercises in 1976. A bit further on our way you will see a large building, known as the Old Naval Hospital, used by the Royal Navy up to 2008. Gibraltar's Barbary macaque population were under the care of the British Army and subsequently, the Gibraltar Regiment, from 1915 to 1991, who carefully controlled a population that initially consisted of a single troop. An officer was appointed to supervise their welfare, and a food allowance of fruit, vegetables, and nuts were included in their budget. Births were gazetted in a military fashion, and each new arrival was named. They were named after governors, brigadiers, and high-ranking officers. Any ill or injured monkeys needing surgery or any other form of medical attention was taken to Royal Naval Hospital Gibraltar and received the same treatment as would an enlisted service personnel. Following the withdrawal of the British garrison, the government of Gibraltar took over responsibility for the monkeys.
Next, leaving Jews Gate.
So around this area will be the most exclusive
Ben een
housing.
Spanjaard.
Have anybody thought about buying a property already? Nobody? I've got a good deal. We can review this one. We've got a free hotel for anybody wanting to experience nice living around the area before you buy. So we've got a free hotel, all inclusive. Stay there as long as you want to. Free food, nice sights. Gonna be a safer place. The only problem is you can only leave when they say so. That's because even though it's called the hotel, it's actually new Gibraltar prison. always having sights to the straight in Gibraltar because that's how you know what you're missing. 70% of private Gibraltar is connected to financial issues. Crime level Gibraltar is very, very, very low. That's why the demand of housing in Gibraltar is so high. A lot of people want to come to Gibraltar for safety, nice size, nice climate, and good investment in housing. And it's a very safe place. So that's why the demand is so high. Even if you're British, you will have to be here 12 years by your own means. That's why most of the British expats or people who retire, they want to come to Gibraltar, will mostly buy a home next or around Gibraltar, Costa del Sol, and then use Gibraltar as a safe haven and to do all the paperwork and pension money. So we have most of the Costa del Sol full of expats here in Gibraltar. Because it's very, very high. If I wanted to go to England and stay there, I would only be asked to be there on my own means for 6 months. Anybody else coming from anywhere else, 20 years. To be able to ask for medical help or be a resident of Gibraltar. Yeah, the blue ID and the orange one. The orange one will be the Gibraltarian one. The blue is mostly for people waiting to be a resident. Based in Gibraltar. Shit.
Super bent en je wil hier wonen.
We not need rain to maintain Gibraltar green. This rock serves itself
We gaan steeds hoger, dus mijn oren gaan dicht.
So very lucky we don't need rain.
Hoe hoog?
The main vegetation will be wild
Gaan we nog
olives.
hoger? Oh shit.
Kijk maar naar beneden.
Holy shit, man.
Language.
And don't worry about my driving. I consider to be the second best driver in Gibraltar.
Ik heb wel rijden die doet, hè?
Zeker weten. Beter dan... Deze gast is beter dan...
Entering the nature reserve. Now below the Bay of Gibraltar.
Ja, we kunnen niet heel veel hoger hoor, denk ik.
We are now entering the nature reserve. On the left, down below, you can see Rosier Bay, and you've got a beautiful view over the Bay of Gibraltar and the port of Algeciras. On the right side you will spot some large metal rings, mounted into the rock. These rings were placed in the 18th century and used to pull up and secure the heavy cannons, positioned at strategic locations on the rock.
Next, Queen's Balcony.
Don't worry, you don't get a nice snapshot at the moment down to your left to the bay because we're going to stop in a balcony. Off the bus with the same sides that will be H10. Our third stop, the next stop is going to be St. Michael's Cave. It's a natural cave, the only one open up to 110 caves in Gibraltar. And that's because this one was used as a hospital in the Second World War. It's a beautiful setting. And Gibraltar is limestone, Jurassic limestone. The age of this rock is 200 million years old. So the inside of the rock is mostly like a jewel. All this will be mostly dried up.
Deze 200 miljoen jaar oud.
It's like a big crystal.
Deze berg, 200 miljoen jaar oud.
All
Echt heel oud.
Gibraltar is actually upside down. This was encrusted into the earth. And we have 11 square kilometer basement, mostly. Underneath the sea now, that was clipped when Africa separated from Europe. Toppled over, the story of Hercules split into pillars, the end of the world for a long, long time. So once you saw
Long
these
before
two
time
mountains,
had a
you have to
name.
turn round and go
Long
back.
before time had a name. The
So
first
the
Fujitsu master created Ninjago.
being recognized would have been the Turkish pirates, where best than to have your treasure hidden
Hij
at
durft
the
wel
end of the
zo
world.
te
Little
rijden.
mystical things used to happen in those days. Anything that was mystical had to be proven wrong. And you will now meet there.
There, 2 apes in the streets.
So, sorry. So when you got there, slow ape crossing. These apes we can actually meet now are very, very clever animals. So clever that we actually had to put a nice swimming pool somewhere to refresh themselves because again, they'll be watching the rich guys downstairs with a nice swimming pools. They'll go down. They have learned that they can use the slides, the cream, the leader is here leading behind. So we have age management. A group of guys employed by the government just in case that happens. It does happen once in a while. Why do they do all this and why are they so
beneden bij de rijke mensen
Because the
gewoon in het
moment you
zwembad
get any
en
animal,
van de glijbaan.
you stop getting out of its environment and put it in a place they haven't got natural predators. All the time they waste in the wild, seeing who's going to eat their kids, or who's going to eat him, or who's going to eat their family.
Goedemorgen, er zit een aap in jouw zwembad.
And they're very used to tourists. We have 6 to 9 million tourists, and most of them will come to see the apes, one way or the other. By cable car, you always come and get to see apes because they will be anywhere there's a congregation of people. They're only interested in 2 things. That will be food, sugary stuff, anything that's sugary. And for the younger ones, anything that's curious, because if you get to me and you have some glasses, and he sees himself reflected in that glass, the next thing we'll do is get the glass and see who's that. Then you throw it away. The action on the phone as well, you take out anything and you do the action of doing the phone, it looks like you're going to give him something, so he'll pick it up.
Oh.
So that means the 3 things you cannot do. Feed them, touch them, or maybe let's say get near them. They're not dangerous animals, but they're not that. If they learn to speak my language, most probably he will be the one taking you down. He'll drive. He'll do anything. Queen's balcony. The words she said when she got here, she was very impressed. I didn't know anyone was so small. Was all this is mine. Then she asked, is that mine as well? We had to stop her there. We said, not yet. That's from your cousin. Because they're mostly all family.
On the left is Queen's Balcony, also known as the Queen's Lookout. During the official visit of Queen Elizabeth II, a year after her coronation in 1954, Queen Elizabeth II stopped at this spot to take in the
Ze gaan zelf wandelen allemaal mensen.
From here we can see the town area, cruise terminal, naval base and ship repair dry docks.
Next, St. Michael's Cave.
Through this process, tiny cracks in the rock's geological fault grew into long passages and large caverns over thousands of years. The numerous stalactites and stalagmites in the cave are formed by an accumulation of traces of dissolved rock, deposited by water dripping from the ground above. The first factual description of the cave was written in 45 AD by Pomponius Mela, an Algeciras-born Roman geographer. In case there are monkeys around, remember these monkeys are wild animals. If there is any food in your bags, please leave them in the bus and don't try to feed or touch the monkeys. When we come to a stop, you will be able to disembark. You will have 20 minutes to visit the caves or stretch your legs. Please try not to exceed the time limit.
Next, leaving cave, Barbary macaques.
So we're going to go into the cave in front of us. There's one entrance and one exit. So you're going to go in up to that restaurant, down the hill to meet me back there where those 2 buses were. I'll be the next one behind it. You can see the alpha male is just outside. There'll be another alpha male there. They're the one that controls the main entrances. He's already seen that that's coming. So he's going to just sit down there for his posing session. He will now look and see if you've got anything of interest. He will let you photo up and then go out. When you come out of the cave.
Oké jongens, we zijn in een cave. Papa, ik wil eigenlijk niet dat je je watermerk hieronder plakt, want ik heb ervoor gekozen om mijn telefoon weg te leggen. We zijn in 2. Film eventjes, moet je zo meteen even dan naar
Je moet niet zeggen wat ik al moet filmen, schat.
Kijk wel mooi gedaan met die verlichting.
Net de Efteling dus.
Ja, ze hebben een badje met druppels. Kijk daar, lijkt net op de stoelen.
Doen we echt gewoon het hek aan de Efteling dit.
Hey. Dan noemen we dit, Louis, de Echteling.
Yo, film naar beneden.
Je bent wel echt oriëntatie weer kwijt.
Yo. Je kan niet naar beneden.
Ja, ik...
Hoeveel minuten zei hij?
20. Ik heb een timer aanstaan. Oh.
Yo.
Dat staat niet aan.
Ga nog verder.
Oh,
Gaat het?
Huh?
Gaat het?
En vochtig. Voel je dat, Louis? Ja. En wat gaan we hier nou eigenlijk doen?
Niks, gewoon kijken.
Ja, maar het ziet donker worden, dus ik weet niet wat er dan daaronder is.
Oh, dat vindt hij leuk. Dat vindt hij leuk dan.
Wel even een beetje bij ons in de buurt blijven, hè?
Kijk nou, jongen. Hier.
Hey, hij is wazig.
Ja.
Dat is toch de gist hier binnen. Ik verwacht op mama.
Toch wel, ik kijk altijd van die video's, van dat ze allemaal van die knock-off chips hebben. Heb ik ook. Mooi hè?
The population of the monkeys is roughly 300. Originally, these monkeys are from the north of Africa, Algeria, and Morocco.
Gaan we nou weer terug naar
Usually,
beneden?
they live in the Rif and Atlas Mountains. They were originally brought to Gibraltar by the Moors that conquered the Rock of Gibraltar in the year 711 AD, when starting their conquest of the Iberian Peninsula and stayed in Gibraltar until 1465. The Moors originally brought these monkeys to Gibraltar as pets. However, some of the monkeys escaped from their owners, finding their new home in Gibraltar. A popular belief holds that, as long as Gibraltar Barbary macaques exist in Gibraltar, the territory will remain under British rule. In 1942, during World War II, after the population dwindled to just 7 monkeys, Winston Churchill took heed of the myth and ordered their numbers be replenished immediately. They were imported from forest fragments from both Morocco and Algeria.
Next, leaving monkeys.
Lijkt het net alsof je zo recht die ravijn in gaat.
So this wall in front of us will be separating one family to the other families that are pigs. This wall was built by Ferdinand II, trying to stop Barbarossa, Red Beard, a pirate invading the place before it was mostly pushed out. After it was pushed out, it was actually captured by the British. The States of Uganda was knocked in.
De microfoon is eraf gegaan.
Son of a fun. Deze gast heeft skill.
There's a few of them only here. Only a few of these eggs at the moment. Got a nice female here, all molting now. See if we can take one of those. So she's senior, this is ready for the photo shoot. So we can sit down now and she'll come beside you, sit with you there to do the photo while I try and get a little bit of a cuddle. So we're going to spend here for 5 to 10 minutes, nice sights of the town and a few miles you're going to see. Africa is already started to come out, so you're going to see that big mountain popping out a little bit. Nice sights, nice photo up there. So 5 to 10 minutes, please.
Moet je wel je dingen weer inpakken.
Ik ga er niet uit, denk ik.
Doe, ik doe dit hè.
Ik ga er niet uit. Dan gaat die bus dicht.
Buiten staan.
Iedereen gaat hier kijken.
Nou, omdat hij zegt... Zij is nu klaar voor de fotoshoot. Dus dan gaat ze zitten. En dan, als jij gaat staan, dan komt ze naast je zitten om een foto te maken. Ja.
Welke aap?
Die liep hier net over de hek. Oh, in de muur.
Ga jij ook?
Ga even naar buiten.
Dan ga ik
Alright.
That's an old one, isn't it?
That will be an alpha female, all coming up.
Yeah.
You got that baby there? You see,
En wil je
she's still a little bit later. I think all of you have been able
So
to get
this is
it.
an older female
This
or
should be
like
the alpha female. Look at her butt. Her butt will be very, very swollen.
yeah.
Yes. She'll come and take
Come on.
There
She
is.
wants her whole box. That's for sure.
Ja. Een foto.
This one will stand by a younger one.
She's gonna take the whole box.
They're all coming up now, so we're going to see more babies now, alright? She's got the baby there.
Yeah, that.
Oh, hold on. We're going to go to the coach. You can see how the females have the fat butts. Yeah. You can see them starting to have the mating season. See them go around showing that to the male.
Yeah.
All females, all females. These are all females, all together. Look at all
Oh, that's a
see?
baby.
Where?
Oh,
This side.
yeah, down here.
So the
That will
big
be alpha male. That will be the father of those guys.
So when the
Each other
bugs get
protect.
big, they're fertile.
That's mostly when they show them and they start showing it around. The male will look at it and say, not now.
Yeah.
How does he actually make sure he's a father? When he does actually do the action, he'll bite. That's not bad. 2 weeks to cure, 2 weeks of gestation. If after that button will go down, she hasn't been pregnant, she'll do it again. Until he gets pregnant. So he makes sure you can see all the kids and he will be the father.
We waren net aan het spelen.
He should be the father of these guys. You can see the alpha male coming up, white darker, white
Hier
bigger.
zit ook eentje, kleintje.
But is it only the alpha male who can, like, it's a driven?
She will choose which alpha male will happen.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
so they are in a group, so it can be.
In the wild, it will be only one alpha male
Yes.
having all the females there, and then the males will be all
Oh, yeah,
alpha.
they have to fight for
Yes,
each
totally.
other. Here it doesn't. Okay.
So they get fed up, they retire, I mean, I'm a retired from it, when he shot there, the bed, he just, tranquilo now, no females, no babies, he just lie down eating ice cream all day and have his siesta.
But here in the world, the female chooses.
Sí, aquí.
James Bond 007 was created by the author Ian Fleming, who between 1940 and 1941 was based in
Nou, heb je het
Gibraltar,
vastgelegd
working
dat
for the
Engels
naval
praat? Oh,
intelligence.
leuk man.
During his time in Gibraltar, he often visited Algeciras in Spain. He frequented a five-star hotel named Reina Cristina, a meeting point for spies in World War II. On one occasion he met a female German national who was spying for the Germans and the British. Ian Fleming received important information from her, and she later featured in his first 007 spy novel, Casino Royale. We are pretty sure that Gibraltar had a big influence on the stories of James Bond. The introduction to the 007 movie, The Living Daylights, in which Timothy Dalton plays the part of James Bond, was filmed in this location in 1987.
Next, approaching the Great Siege Tunnels.
Just before getting to Princess Caroline's Battery, which will be coming up next, and further up the rock to the right, are the Great Siege Tunnels, also known as the Upper Galleries. These are a series of tunnels inside the northern end of the Rock of Gibraltar. They were dug out from the solid limestone by the British during the Great Siege of Gibraltar of the late 18th century. The work was carried out by hand, mainly using sledgehammers and crowbars, aided by gunpowder blasts. The work proceeded slowly at first. It took 13 men 5 weeks to dig a tunnel with a length of 82 feet, 25 meters. The diggers were hindered by fumes and dust from the frequent blasting, so it was decided to blast a horizontal shaft to improve the tunnel's ventilation. This was done and was found to have had an unexpected side benefit. The original intention of this opening was to communicate air to the workmen, who before were almost suffocated with the smoke which remained after blowing the different mines, but, on examining the aperture more closely, an idea was conceived of mounting a gun to bear on all the enemy's batteries, facing the Spanish mainland and the only land access to the city of Gibraltar. Total construction length of the tunnels by the end of 1783 was approximately 908 feet, 277 meters.
Next, Princess Caroline's.
We're gonna come now to see the city of La Línea across the border. That city is called La Línea de la Concepción, the line of the Conception, because before that city was created, you will see a line of workers coming from Algeciras and San Roque. So that city there has been created by the work in Gibraltar. There's always been this movement of labor to construct everything that we have around us. When Spain gave the rock to the British, there was only a rock. All you see was mostly built by the British with Spanish labor or Moorish labor, but from their clothes.
From Princess Caroline's, you can see the city of La Línea de la Concepción, the frontier city. You can also see a part of the runway of Gibraltar International Airport, which is still property of the British Ministry of Defence. We usually have between 5 to 7 flights a day with British Airways and EasyJet.
Next, approaching city under siege.
Got a few buildings here to my left coming up now. First one's built by the British.
The buildings on the left, as we turn the corner, are probably one of the first buildings ever constructed by the British in Gibraltar, dating back to the 18th century. Originally, it is thought that they were built as magazines to store ammunition. The most important aspect of the building is the graffiti that can be seen on the walls, the earliest of which dates back to 1726. Soldiers mounting guard in the area used to spend their time drawing graffiti so as not to fall asleep during the long hours of duty, an offence punishable by death in those days. There is much graffiti, all equally interesting, yet there are 2 outstanding ones featuring a drawing of a galleon together with a graffiti attributed to Sergeant Major Ince, the architect of the Great Siege Tunnels.
Next, World War II tunnels.
Here to my right.
On the right you will see the entrance to the World War II tunnels. The tunnelling was carried out by 4 specialised tunnelling companies from the Royal Engineers and the Canadian Army. The total length of the entire tunnel network inside the rock is approximately 34 miles, 55 kilometres. The entire 16,000-strong garrison could be housed there along with enough food to last them for 16 months. Within the tunnels there is an underground telephone exchange, a power generating station, a water distillation plant, a hospital, a bakery, ammunition magazines, and a vehicle maintenance workshop.
Next, Moorish Castle.
What you see from here, all that used to be sea before. The wall, all sea. So you can see how now we're going to do the next city on the eastern side. The idea is to fit in at least 25,000 high exclusive tourism or people stable tourism. Making it 200 super marina, 11 hotels, 22 housing projects, and a long beach from one point to the other. So we can actually offer you a day in the beach, and you can stay in the water for a few days. At the moment, no space. Only visit like you're doing, come in and out. Cruisers come in through the day and out. Maybe when that happens, the cruise will stay here for 2 days. So we're trying to keep a little bit more inside. The castle is actually in our flag. Moorish Castle.
Here you see the remains of a Moorish fortress. The site of the Moorish castle was first built in 1160, or earlier. The Tower of Homage is the highest tower of the period of Islamic rule in the Iberian Peninsula, and the Kasbah of the castle is the largest in the area. A rebuilt tower dates primarily from about 1333 AD. The Tower of Homage proudly displays the battle scars inflicted during the various sieges. The castle itself played a prominent part in the Muslim invasion of the Iberian Peninsula, with Muslim forces overrunning a large portion of it in 2 years, an invasion which led to Islamic domination of parts of Western Europe for more than 7 centuries. It is therefore of historic significance, not only for Gibraltar and Iberia, but also for all of Western Europe. It is interesting to note that the courtyard of the Moorish castle recently served as a prison, up until 2010.
Next, police barracks.
See, that won't be gibberish, that you will tell you way of talking. We excel the language, we are very rough talking, to see how well we talk. I'm doing a very big effort just talking in English, because my easiest words will come in Spanish. I call it gibberish.
Gibberish.
So everything, the easy, very lazy dialect of everything will become.
So what's the percentage of Spanish speaking you have?
In Gibraltar, mostly connected. All the workers come in, so we have to talk in Spanish and tell them what to do. Mostly. Police barracks. Exactly how it was the day it was inaugurated. It's painted the same color. It had to be painted with any color that would be grays, blacks, greens, whites, military or navy. So the only thing different from there will be the 2 blocks of glass that will be covering up the lifts. So you could see what was here in its day, not just a new building and just losing the heritage. A lot of refurbishing going on in town because we got cheap labor from across the border. 35% of unemployment. We help our neighbors, they help our economy.
Ahead of us, on the left, we can see Sacred Heart Church. The church is of Gothic design. The foundation stone was laid on the 25th of March, 1874, and completed in 1880. Apart from a number of Catholic churches, we also have 2 mosques, 3 synagogues, a Hindu temple, a Church of Scotland, a Church of England, and various other places of worship for our diverse religious denominations living within the local population.
Next, Garrison Library and Gibraltar Chronicle.
We are a very good example to the world. We have 17 different ethnic religions living in a 3.5 square kilometer area with no tension whatsoever. Very high community of Muslims, very high community of Jews. English, Spanish. What we have is mostly stuff from the very early stage. So we're going to show you as we go down. There is a place where we have 5 places of worship in a 600 square meter area. In the middle, instead of having a parking, what we have is a playground.
With that few people.
Yes. But of course, we used to receive anybody who was pushed out of Spain. The Jews, the Moors, the Catalans. But again, starting at a very early age, no religion taught in school, mostly that. We tend to baptize our kids when they're nearly 5 or 6 years old, and at least get them to see if they want to do it or not. It's why I've done it with my daughter now at 5 years old. It's a very common thing in Gibraltar. The attention is never there. I've got 5 kids. All the friends of my kids will be different religions, all in the same party. What do I
It's
do
all
then?
okay, yeah.
I keep it down.
That's great.
It's the only way it can be done. Teach it from a very early age.
This is bad stuff.
On the left is the Gibraltar Garrison Library and the offices of the Gibraltar Chronicle newspaper. The library was completed in 1804 under the governorship of the Duke of Kent, Queen Victoria's father. The dragon tree, Dracaena Draco, in the library's front garden was said to date from the Spanish occupation when the plant was introduced to Gibraltar by mariners who brought the seeds from the Canary Islands. The Gibraltar Chronicle, the oldest newspaper in Europe, was the first to report about the Battle of Trafalgar. The Gibraltar Chronicle published the news of the victory of Trafalgar on the 23rd of October, 1805, 2 days after the event, in English and French. It had received the news so quickly, because the British fleet had met a day after the battle with a fishing boat that brought a report from Admiral Collingwood to Gibraltar.
Next, governor's residence.
You have to be friends with everybody, my friend. An important man in Gibraltar.
Yeah.
And if the house of the governor will be the front in front of us. This will be like 10 Downing Street in England. We've got 6 Convent Place. Of course, the governor's home used to be a friar's home. When the governor came, he chucked out the friars out of the home. So what did the friars do? They got very angry. And also, all the friars were drink a lot. So they went across the road into the bar. Look at the name of the bar. We don't think about much about names in Gibraltar. That's what it's called. You have to put your nose in. There's no traffic like that. There's too many people in town. My people need time to go shopping. Chico. See, that will be my... So the bar's called the Angry Fire. Couldn't be called another thing. He cannot change the name of that bar. Main Street, main shopping area, it's a mile long. This should be mostly where we have all the shopping area.
In front of us is the convent, residence of the governor of Gibraltar who represents the crown on the rock. Straight ahead is the main street and on the right is the court service, famed for the marriage of John Lennon with Yoko Ono in 1969. Other celebrities that married in Gibraltar include Sean Connery and Rod Stewart.
Next, tour end.
On behalf of Parody Tools, we thank you for your attention and we hope you enjoy your stay in Gibraltar. I would like you to join me in giving a special thanks to the bus driver who hopefully carried you safely back and made this tour an enjoyable experience. Tips are not obligatory, but are really appreciated as a thank you to the driver. Thank you very much for your attention throughout this tour, and we wish you a safe onward journey.
So this building here will be the most dangerous for me in Gibraltar. Gibraltar is a very safe place, but this for me is a dangerous place for sure. You can get married there in one day. I've been here twice already. Mostly for the military. There is a back door. They order the governor to be open 24 hours just in case you want to run. I never thought about it. But you will see on this lane here is called Lover's Lane. Because again, most of the soldiers will be drunk to the head before they say, I'm going to get married with you. I'm going to war. So I get married before just in case, young men. Some of them were married already.
Nou jongens, ik ga niet zoveel meer filmen, want anders gaat mijn opslag eraan. Jongens, ik heb deze clip even gemute. Leuk dat jullie hebben gekeken. Er komt geen deel 2, want we hebben wel meer gedaan vandaag, maar anders wordt de video veel te lang. Dus doei!